Hey, good morning. How's everybody doing? In 1996, I joined the U.S. military for a short stint, probably 5 months. So 5 months into my first attempt to get in the military, I was in for about maybe a month and a half, and I got discharged with like a failure to adapt discharge. And I moved to Durham, North Carolina. I started working at Duke University for about 3 years, and got kind of bored with life. I tried to get back in the military, and it let me get back in with a waiver. So I did my military training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. It was my permanent duty station. Did pretty well at first, and then my first duty station was Fort Polk, Louisiana, which is JRTC. It's like the Joint Readiness Training Center. They do a lot of training exercises like Delta Force, different brigades, a lot of combat arms units. So at the end of my stay at Fort Polk, I got on special assignment where I was tasked to drive like generals, diplomats, very important VIPs like the Post General, the Post Commander, 18th Airborne Corps General, General Swanwick. I drove a lot of generals, drove a lot of foreign diplomats, CIA officers. I did a detail with the Secret Service one time. And so before I got pulled off this detail, they called everybody down to the unit and said that there was an incident overseas and there was going to be a war and we was going to be deployed to Iraq. So this was like late 2002. So I got pulled from my detail. Everybody was happy and talking shit like, "You're back. You're going overseas." This, that, and third. So anyway, I ended up getting deployed. So when I got to Baghdad, I stayed for about 6 months. We made a 3-month drive to Baghdad. When we get in country, we get to Baghdad, there's a bunch of gunfire, and they said, "Well, now that y'all are going to be here, y'all realize that this gunfire doesn't mean anything. It's actually a skirmish between the neighbors, and it's actually like a inner city skirmish, and you're going to see so much gunfire, you're going to get used to it." And that was the truth. We slept through gunfire. So 6 months through this deployment, I PCS to Virginia to another duty station. And so I had to go to Camp Victory, fly to Baghdad, go back to the States, and pick up a new duty station. So when I got to my new duty station, I turned back around and deployed again. But I was non-deployable because I had shoulder surgery. So they put in some type of waiver to get me to go overseas against doctor's orders. So anyway, I went overseas. And when I was coming from Kuwait, my old unit, which is 2nd Army Cavalry Regiment, they were actually just leaving out of the country because George Bush said April 2003 that the war was officially over, and the war had just started. So anyway, so fast forward to 2nd Army Cavalry Regiment, they were leaving country, and my unit was coming in country. Now I had an 8-up unit. My unit didn't even have any business being in country, and we had a lot of different issues, and we were pretty much a transportation unit. So with the transportation unit at this time, it was so dangerous in country that you needed ballistic upper armor kits, and you needed a lot of protection because you're pretty much a RPG magnet or AK-47 magnet, and you have these MSRs you have to go down, these preset routes you have to go down. You can't just go your own route, so you're pretty much a sitting duck, and the surgeon would sit on you, and day chain IEDs. There'll be a lot of convoy attacks and stuff like that. So just a little background. So. I was in a couple little skirmishes, like in Baghdad, for instance. There was a sniper that was driving down Canal Road in Baghdad, and I was up on the tower, and they stole police cars and ambulances at that time, and he tried to shoot me on the tower. So he was weaving through traffic, and I shot back, but I didn't want to kill anybody in traffic, so I just shot one round and I called it in. So that was my first actual incident with shooting my weapon or anything like that, being in combat. So 2004, I deployed with a unit out of Fort Eustis, Virginia, and my driving was done with. I wasn't a protocol driver anymore. I was just a regular soldier again. So I'm back in the unit. So when I got to my unit, I had a platoon sergeant, First Class Samuels. We did not get along at all, and he didn't like me. And he thought I knew a lot about the Army. He said, "You sure think you know a lot about the Army, don't you?" And I thought I was this high-speed soldier that knew so much about the military. This guy had been in probably 15, 16 years. So we didn't really get along. So fast forward, we deployed to southern Iraq. We're at Talil Air Base in southern Iraq. So you have Talil Air Base, Cedar 1, Cedar 2, and this was actually an air base. So we were running missions from southern Iraq to Baghdad to Jobs Hajj and stuff like that. So on August the 4th, we took a mission to Hilla, Iraq, which is a Polish compound almost about 100 miles, 150 miles away from southern Iraq. So we get to the compound, a big sandstorm hits, and with sandstorms, and when you're dealing with a M16 rifle, you have to keep that weapon really clean because the least amount of dirt will make this weapon not fire correctly. And in basic training, the drill sergeant always said, you got to keep your weapon clean, because if you don't keep your weapon clean one day, that'll kill you. So, I mean, you hear that stuff in basic training, but you never think you'll be in a position where if your weapon isn't clean, it would get you killed. I never thought that. So, you know, we get to this compound. I have a truck accident the night before. We had a couple little incidents. It just was summing up to be like a bad week. So the next day, we were going to a compound called Camp Baker in Najaf, Iraq, and we had the gun trucks. We had the route set out, and these gun trucks supposedly knew the route that they were going to take because they had taken it a million times. And we had an MTS system in our trucks, which is like a mobile tracking system. It's like a system that tracks the battle and lets us know where we're going. And if there's an ambush, it lets us know that that you're not going to that city. And like a year before that, I was driving the CIA office. The CIA came to the compound. They wanted to get intel on the MTS system. I drove them around for about a week, and we were supposed to train them on the MTS system, but they were pretty much just gathering intel. I don't know why, but that's what the CIA does. So anyway, the Battle of Najaf was from 5 August to 27 August 2004. There was a ceasefire between the Marines and the Midi Army. The Midi Army is a radicalized militia, and their cleric is when there was Muqtada al-Sadr. He was head of the Midi Army. So in this particular town of Najaf, there was a holy shrine, which was a cemetery, and it was a mosque. And that pretty much means when you get any type of gun battles or anything, if these national shrines get damaged, there's going to be hell to pay pretty much, because this particular city was one of the most holy cities in the Muslim culture in that region, which is Southwest Asia. So, like I said, from August 5th, 2004 to August 27th, the Battle of Najaf was kicked off. So day one of the Battle of Najaf was the day I got there. So we get our stuff together. We leave Camp Hilla, and as we're going, I noticed my weapon jammed. I was like, damn, so I'm saying my weapon's fucked up. Can I get your weapon? He said, sure. No big deal. He just handed me his weapon. I said, well, I'll just unfuck it up when we get to the compound. And it didn't quite happen that way. So I noticed when we were coming to the city, we didn't know that there was actually, the ceasefire had been broken because the Midi Army had hijacked the police station in Najaf and ran the police officers out there, stole their weapons, and had them on the street. Pretty much, they took over the whole city, so the city was under siege. So when we got into the city, they had took over all the checkpoints and they were fake checkpoints to wave us through so they could kill us. So when we get to the checkpoint, I looked at Sergeant Sam, I said, this doesn't look right. And he looked back, and one of the guys was doing a trigger finger motion. So we got through the checkpoint. As we got into the city, all I seen was the Golden Dome, and it was almost like a movie. Guys just started running out with AK-47 RPGs. They shot my truck up, killed the guy in front of me. And we returned gunfire, and I probably shot like a clip and a half. And I don't know if I killed anybody. They say I did, but I'm not gonna lie and say I know what I did, because I didn't. Some say more, some say less. I don't really know to this day, but that doesn't really matter. But so we're going through the gunfire. We're on our radios, and the sad part about it is, if we would have checked the MTS system, we would have known that this road was closed off. The city was pretty much a big ass kill zone. So when we get to we're going through the kill zone. We're returning fire. We're taking the RPG fire. We're taking the enemy gunfire. We get to the end of the road, and I pretty much don't have any ammo left in that particular clip. So I reload the clip and probably shoot about 15 more rounds. Soon, so I said, "Stop! What the fuck are you doing? Stop shooting!" So we make a U-turn and go back to the compound. Now this particular compound was ran by a mercenary group, a group called Blackwater USA, and they were pretty much working for the Department of Defense. And what they are is contractors, ex-Navy SEALs, the Army Rangers, Delta Force, stuff like that. And they get paid by the Department of Defense to protect dignitaries and people like that from getting killed. So anytime there was like somebody like Paul Bremer or the General Shinseki, and they come in country, there will be pretty much by